Shelley's a glassmaker. We have these beautiful glass objects. We shine light through them. They create beautiful patterns of caustics and refractions and diffractions that we're treating as a graphic score. There's a kind of three-way collaboration going on where myself and Shelley are collaborating on how to design these glass objects that take advantage of the cording and structure of the glass, so stuff that's invisible to the naked eye, but once light goes through it, it becomes this beautiful kind of set of patterns and behaviours that's never quite predictable either. Every time we set these things up, they're slightly different.
I've been working with different sorts of scientists who use light and structure to understand molecular dynamics in different ways, whether it be crystallographers or plasmonic specialists. This project has been a chance to unpack that a bit more. In fact, we've been lucky enough to have a conversation with an amazing physicist who taught us a little bit about caustics, and we'd originally been shining light through the objects and getting projections, but this is the first time we've actually designed objects where, as the light bounces off the surface, you create another set of luminous interpretations. Sort of topography creates another set of luminous patterns.
One of the interesting tensions for us in thinking about this at all is in how free do the musicians work in relation to the score, or how much do we specify? It's very difficult with such a rich visual.
The sound that you guys create, the sound atmosphere that you create around that will colour the way we perceive it.
We decided we wanted to get some kind of literal musical connection to it, so we took a pianola roll. Shelley laser printed off some sections of it. It's a Bach C minor fugue from the second book.
And then sandblasted those onto the embryos before we polished them, so before we blew them.
But they're all completely distorted then by the glass blowing process, so it's never intended to be a literal interpretation. As an image, it's open to interpretation any which way. Part of the challenge is to think about how this could be interpreted in a musically interesting or musically valid way.
They're both so different, it's really, really lovely to listen to that.
It was weird that both of the approaches worked. You went for blocks of very different sounding things, whereas you had a very consistent approach pretty much the whole way across, and both of those were appropriate, I think.
And I wasn't particularly going for trying to create any sort of melodic, even sort of rhythmic contours. When I look at the shapes, I look at that as being like we were talking about the density of the sounds.
And then at the same time, if I thought there were 2 points in different areas, I tried to show that with a multiphonic or something. Obviously, sometimes one is more prevalent than the other, so you hear that out with the higher notes sounding a lot more and overtaking. So you start off with one, and as it moves around, it might change motion. So you've got very bright in the top left, gets fainter as the bottom right gets brighter.
I'd quite like to see what happens if you are given a kind of a word or an atmosphere to create in some way. Part of this knowledge exchange was giving each other permission to enter each other's worlds a little more. Actually, we're both in a zone that we really made together, and that I think the work is being richer from that point of view. Up to this point, we were both kind of hanging on to specific domain-specific things, and I think it's only with this project that we've actually kind of just jettisoned those a little bit and said, okay, well, what happens if I just do this and don't really worry too much about that aspect of it? Yeah, you were actually listening to the music and having that change the way you were looking at the image, and it was the same for me too. We're using the objects in a very different way. and they're no longer locked to the object and no longer locked to the score. They're in another zone of performative experience, and I think that's great.
Yeah, it's turning into something truly hybrid.